Welcome back to Stand Up Your Tubes, where we control the tubes and the tubes never control us. Well, this is a dream for me because I have been working for months trying to truly stand up our tubes. And these little creatures are standing up on their own, reliably standing up. They're adorable, they're easy to make. Uh, it just takes a little bit of uh, I would say having already made a few creatures because you just need to be able to know how to cast on, cast off, and do a nice little mattress stitch. That's it. So, with that in mind, I'd like to introduce you to the little guy on the left with the, uh, I guess that's a yellow shirt, is Maverick. And the little cutie pie on the right, that is Miss Leah. They're brother and sister, and they are the grandchildren of Cass and Joe, who founded Margaret's house. I'm going to go on a limb and say 17 years ago. And they've been hard at work ever since, helping women rebuild their lives, like rising up from the ashes. Some of these women have just had the worst childhood, the worst lives. They've ended up in jail, in prison, and they can come out to Margaret's house, and some are lucky enough to make it to Margaret's house. It's a beautiful facility. They get their own bedroom, a new wardrobe, classes. They get everything they need to be successful in their new life. And as they work through the classes and the mentoring at Margaret's house, they realize that their past can be washed white as snow, that they can be completely forgiven, that their past does not define them. It's like rising up out of the ashes and just being white as snow again. It's a wonderful thing to see. So, Maverick and Miss Leah are together. They're adorable. I want to just turn Miss Leah a little bit so you can see why she's standing, because she has a long furry tail that makes her the equivalent of a three-legged stool. And I thought, what animal has a really, really long tail so that I could pull this look off? And I thought about my grandson Ian's cat. It had the longest tail I ever saw. I mean, it was a stunningly long tail. So I figure as long as some cats have those really long tails, why not have them become stand up your tube creatures? So today we're going to make Leah. She is just beyond adorable. Look at those eyes. Who wouldn't fall in love with those eyes with the little tutu? Let me just put her paws up. She has little paw pads. Cute, cute, cute. Little claws. Maverick was first, and of course, as a prototype, when I make the second one, there's always going to be some changes. Not that many, just little tweaks along the way, which I'll talk about in the videos. So, my dream, and you can help me get there by liking and subscribing and actually watching the videos. And even if you're busy and it's not time for you to really make a creature yet, let that video play because it takes that 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours to get funded. So if you could just do that for Margaret's house, it would be such a blessing. So let's get started, and I'll show you the secret ingredient that makes these so adorable and bendable and posable. Thank you, and let's get started. Okay, well, let's get started. Um, this idea came to me about a week ago. I have been working for probably 3 months trying to make a posable animal, a creature that's easy to make, that doesn't require special equipment and tools and pipe cutters and things like that, and that a child would enjoy having. And this is what I came up with. I'm really so happy about it. So I'm going to tell you what we're going to need to get started. And this is just PVC pipe. And I bought it with the fittings to make the stand-up lion, my first or second attempt. And I didn't go this route, but I had these fittings. This is a straight through. It's a T, and it's for 1/2 inch. So this little pipe, I just cut it off a big long piece, slips into either end, and that's how we do PVC pipe fittings when we're plumbing. So I have this, and I went and got it because I had an idea and it worked. So I want to show it to you. These are the bendy curlers that I introduced in another video, but I got them at Dollar General, a dollar store, something like that, called Studio Selection Twister Rollers. It was 12 pieces, assorted sizes. It was not expensive. I looked at them at Walmart and they were very expensive, and I backed off from them. And that was a couple months ago. I just put it out of my mind that I could buy twisty curlers that cost $15 or $16. I couldn't justify it. This whole little pack might have, I'm guessing I could probably find the receipt if I looked hard enough, might have been about $7, but 12 pieces. So I've gone on to Amazon and I've ordered a 30-piece pack that was on sale for $8.99, and they come Monday. But I have these for this video. So what this is going to do is allow us to hold these bendy curlers into position. So this would be the arms and chest. This would be an arm that we can pose. And then these are going to be the legs, and they will fit up into this 1/2 inch pipe perfectly. How about that? And we're going to push them in all the way up to this pink bendy curler so that it's pushing up on it. I don't know if I can get it where you can see inside, but okay, see how it's pushing up against it? We're going to really snug that up, and that's going to hold this tight, 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 tight. Then for my prototype, I did not do this, but I'm hoping that this works. I'm going to put it in this video, see what happens. So now it's posable. It can bend its knees, its legs. It's so soft, nothing hard, not flimsy like a pipe cleaner. I'm actually going to put a ruler on here before I start putting clothes on it, just to make sure that, like, I think this arm's a little too long, so I might want to snug it out. So then what I'm going to do after I get everything together is get my glue gun and just drizzle the glue gun in there to fill in the voids. See the voids? And it'll just stabilize everything. It worked really well on the prototype. But then I got the idea that wouldn't it be clever if it could stand up on its own? My prototype, and I'll show it to you at the end. I always have to make the beginning after I make the end so that I can show you what we made. I have the smaller one, and I thought if I insert this up in here, which makes it even snugger, then it would be like a 3-legged stool. And if I made a cat that had a nice long tail on it, then if I put feet on it, I could probably come up with an animal that could stand up on its own. So I'm excited. I think when I have the feet that come out to make it even a little more secure, a fuzzy tail, the fuzzy tail will come out of the body, and it needs to be long enough that when it hits the table, which is difficult to show with an overhead camera, that you get that 3-legged stool effect. So I'm going to go that route. If it doesn't work, I'm going to pull the tail out and make it just like I made the first one. But let's get started and see what happens. When you get to this point, I'm going to heat my glue gun up, get a brand new glue stick because I know it's going to take a lot, measure the arms, and get started. I will be right back. While my glue gun heats up, let's talk about the row counts. So I decided just to make a little gray cat. This is going to be the cat's body cover. It's going to end up being a ballerina with a tutu. So I've made sparkly gray yarn, and that's why I went with the gray for her body, because it kind of looked good together. And we're going to make a front and a back. They're going to be sewn together up the sides so we can get around this, the tube. So the row counts for this are going to be all on the 22 pin. So these are the arms right here. And this is one tube that's on the 22 pin, and I made it 50 rows. Any color you want your cat to be. These are the arms. For the head, and so I don't get them confused, I've already folded it in half so that I know this is going to be my little head. And for this little cat, I made it 40 rows. And that's so I can sew the little cat ears right into it. For the little tutu sweater, whatever you want to call it, on the 22 pin, I called it the body because technically it's all there is that is the body, is what wraps over the armature. So it's on the 22 pin. And for this sweater color, I had to pause just for a minute. I couldn't read my writing. So what I did is, this is my sparkly gray yarn, and I thought it would be perfect for a ballerina. So for the white, I did 10 rows, and then I switched to the sparkly yarn, and I did 12 rows for a total of 22 rows. And I did 2 of them. This one's already cinched up on one end, and they're going to go together. That'll be the body of our ballerina. And then for the legs that are going to wrap around these longer tubes, I'm making them 33 rows, 2 of them. And when you stretch it out, that makes the 2. So we'll start with these row counts. You can get your tubes made. I thought about this after I started it, and I was excited to get the video started, but I thought if I had wanted to give her a little paw color that was a different, cute little color, the first maybe 5 and the last 5 could have been a paw color. It could have been white or a different color of gray, just something to give her cute little paw pads. Something to think about. All right, I think the glue gun's probably hot. So I'm going to put my tape measure on. Actually, that's really, really close. And so I'm going to just drizzle some glue down in here. I know you can't see it, but just to hold it in place. It's not really affecting my cat's tail because it's not pushed up as far. If I'd pushed it up as far as the green, then it wouldn't have stood right. So I think that if it doesn't work out, I can easily pull the tail out and give it just a regular old standard tail, and everything will be great. So just filling up those voids. Okay. I believe that'll get it. This is the beginning of a creature that I know we can pose, and I'm hoping it will stand. While the glue was drying, or after it dried, I measured the tail, and it's sticking out past the feet a full 3/4 of an inch. And so now I'm able to just put a little bend on the tip of that tail, and it will stand. So that's pretty exciting. Let's sew it together. So I also cut out my little ears. I lost my head. Goodness. Oh, it's on the floor. So I want to give it really cute little ears. And I took a sticky note and cut 2 matching little triangles so that when we sew the ears, we can hold these up on the top. We'll whip stitch the top together, kind of like a mattress stitch, and then we'll have these as a guide when we get ready to sew our ears on. We'll be sure that each side is the same if we do it that way. This is dry, so let's start with the legs. And pretty much we can do this off camera so that this video is really quick. I'm going to take the really ruffly cast on row and put it up at the top where it's not going to show. I'm going to pull the tail back this way so it's kind of out of the way for now. And we're going to get rid of all this extra here. I like to cinch it up over, let's do 3 fingers. And then we'll actually sew with this long tail that we have. Bringing it up in between the cat's legs so that it's up to here. It's going to wrap the leg. So we'll thread our needle with our tail that we pulled. We'll tie a little knot here just to secure it. We're going to get on our stitches that either both point this way or both point that way, your choice. And we're going to mattress stitch all the way down to the end. And since it's an intermediate video and you know how to mattress stitch, cast on, cast off, cinch up a beanie, we should be able to do this off camera. Do this leg, then insert this leg up, mattress stitch it down, and I'm going to join you back when we have 2 legs. I popped the tail out. It popped right out. The glue never got to it. And I wanted to just give you a little tip. So when you pull this up, I cinched mine just a little bit so that it was snug. Sew it up on the outside of the leg, do a nice mattress stitch, and then just simply turn it to the inside. And that way the seam will be on the inside. And it's a nice looking seam, but it's nice that it's not going to be right on top of the leg. So I'm going to finish sewing this leg down while you finish sewing your leg down. I made it to the bottom. I'm snugging up the mattress stitch, but not enough to pull it down from the top here. So I'm going to kind of pinch that tube together, give this a nice snug, make sure the bottom of the beanie down here is snugged up, and I'm going to tie it off. And I thought about leaving a thread so I could sew its ballerina slipper on, but pretty sure that's going to be sparkly white, so I'll just sew it on with the white. So let's bury the threads and twist our tubes around so that our mattress stitch is on the inside of the leg. And then I'll show you how we're going to put the top on. This is going to go really fast. Look how cute. Well, now that we have the seam turned to the inside and we're pushed all the way up to our white pipe fitting, let's just go around the top and catch these stitches just like this, and then bring it around and snug it up all the way around. I'm staying in the V-stitch that's one off of the cast on row, and then jumping over to the other leg. And I stay off that cast on row because that's just not real stable. Made it around really fast. Snug it up again and give this a nice pull. And look how it cinches up that little waist. And I'm going to tie it off and bury that thread. There we go. Pull it up, cinch it up, give her a nice little shape. If you have a second pair of hands that can help you, call in those hands for help. I don't, so I'm going to just push down on that knot with my finger, and that worked pretty good. And if you want to, And I may want to go around a second time. I'm going to do that off camera, tie it one more time, bury the threads, and we'll put the bodice on next. I went around a second time, tied it off, and I'm still completely able to put the tail up into this body tube because we're going to do something special with this tube on our 22 pin Addi that's going to be adorable. I hope. So now let's put the bodice on and the sleeves. So what I did on my first prototype is I put on the bodice and then I sewed the sleeves on, but I thought it might be a better look to put the arms on all the way across for a seamless look, and then I can bring the body up any way I want to. I can make it more like the top of a ballerina. So let's do the same thing with this as we did with the legs. Let's flip it over, and you're going to see that it extends past your tube, and that's so we can give the cat a little flat paw pad and not stop it with a blunt tube at the end. So we're going to cinch up each end into our beanie, put a little knot in it, do your beanie, put a little knot. The mattress stitch is going to go to the bottom, and we're going to mattress stitch it all the way till we hit the white, and then start from this end and come in until you hit the white, and we're going to be left with this. And we'll do that off camera. I think you can see how cute it's going to come together. I'll be right back when I have my arms on. I sewed up from both ends, and I still have my needle on this one. So I pushed the arm covers up so that the tip of the bendy curler is right in the tip here. And that way I could tell where my center was. So I'm going to hold it into place and bring each side up now until I'm touching the white. Then I'm going to tie it off really secure, make sure that my mattress stitch is secure all the way down to where we did the tip of the beanie. So that's what I'm going to do off camera, just so the video doesn't get so long. And then we're going to end up with something that looks like this. Nice and snug all the way up to our white pipe fitting. I'll be back when I have both sides into the middle here cinched up. All right, I'm secured. I tied knots right here, and I just brought my threads up to the top just for a little extra security. I brought each thread up after I tied it under the armpits, and I'm just going to cinch it up and see how that just snugs it up even a little bit more, and just tie a couple knots in it and bury these threads. And now we're almost ready to put the head on. So I want to bury that this way, not splitting any stitches. Okay. And now when I pull these back out again and stretch it out, I'll be able to have my little paw pads on the end. Right here. And we'll want to keep our rows going straight across here. So now we can put on our little body suit. And I want the white to go down to the bottom and the sparkly yarn to be the top of the bodice, or do I want it to go the sparkly and a white bodice? I don't even know. It can go either way. I think the white pops off better because it's going to have a white tutu. So I think I'm going to do the white up to the top. So then I will put this little beanie pull back in, not real tight, because I want it just to come up over the shoulders some. And then I'll do the same thing to this white one, stretch it out a little bit bring it to the back. And we can decide how we want to put this on. Do we want to have little straps? That would be cute. And then a little tutu down here. So let's work on the head. And we have our little ear pieces. So for the head, fold your beanie in half, line up your bottom stitches. I usually go ahead and just snug mine up around at least 3 fingers just to get a nicer shape on it. And that is going to be the neck. And roll these down. So I'm going to flip it because this was my cast on row and it's the most loopy. So I'll bring my nicer cast off row to the outside this time. Find my yarn again. Snug them up. Going to require a little stuffing here. This will be the neck that goes up on the top of our tube. We're going to get our little ears on there and stuff it out. Put our tutu on. It's going to be quick and it's going to be adorable. So I'm going to sew across the top by going with a yarn under a V-stitch, work my way across, and then I'm going to knot it off and sew my ears in. So I will come back after I have this closed at the top. I sewed across the top and I caught every single row. So when I close it up, it's going to give me a really nice look. And I don't want to snug it up so that I'm drawing it up because I want these to be really cute, big ears. So just pulling it, then putting my yellow ears on, lining them up so each one's the same, like that. I'm going to tie these threads off because they're not long enough to bring them down and then sew across. So I'm going to knot them, bury them, put my little ears on. And for people that just have a need to know, it is 1.5 inches from the tip to the tip. Yep, 1.5 inches. That's how big these ears are. And we need them to be that big so the head isn't too elongated. We need the ears to be there. So let me bury my threads, sew up, and I'll meet you back while you sew yours up. Getting ready to sew the ear on. So what I do, leave yourself a long enough tail that you can bury it. But I just go ahead and tie a knot right here before I start sewing up. Position this yellow ear guide on here, and I'm going to just sew my way up and then do a knot right here, put my next one on. I have a long enough thread that I can just come over a couple stitches and then come down this side. So I'll join you back when I have my ears stitched on. I have just a little bit of stuffing in my cat's face, and so I went with these eyes. You can use any eyes you want. I happen to come up 10 rows. I'm going to put my little button nose in. So I'm going to just position it right in the center. Let's see. I need to go over one. Okay. It'll look like this. I'll have to snap those on, and then I'm going to put my little, oh my gosh, how cute. How cute is that? I'm going to go with that. So I have two different kinds of backings. These ones from my Amazon Dragon Eyes are just really, really secure. And when you snap them on, you are not going to get a second chance. So I want to put the nose on first, pull the stuffing back out. That was just to give it enough structure that I could see if I liked how I was lining everything up. I'm going to pop the nose on first. And I'm going to pull these little eyes out so that I can get the nose on right. I've never used the nose. My first try, so I'm going to see how it pops on. And before I give it that extra little snug, I'm going to make sure that its point is down. May not get another chance to position it if it goes on really, really snug. And there it is. Now I'm going to put the eyes back in, snap them on, and when I come back, we'll put the little stuffing back in. I think before we put the snout on, we'll sew the head on so that we can get to the neck and our pom-pom's not in the way. So I'll be right back after I've snapped my dragon eyes on, which are now cat eyes. Okay, these dragon eyes go on so much better than the little round eyes, the little two-part eyes. So I wanted you to hear this. Snap. I don't know if you could hear it, but now the big snap. And now they're on really snug. The nose is on. We have a little face. The stuffing can go back in now. And we'll stuff it out even firmer since this was just to, the first stuffing was just to shape the head a little bit. When I have it stuffed where I really am happy with it, because we're not going to get a second chance since we aren't going to be able to come in here into the ears or the top of the head like I usually leave it open just enough to put more stuffing in. This is going to be what we get. What we get once we've been cinch it up, we better be happy with it. So let's see. Maybe just a tiny little bit more. We're not spreading our stitches out yet, so I think I could put a little bit more in there. I'm going to cinch up this inner one a little more, the outer one. Hold its little snout on there. Okay. I think that's how I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to bother to pinch this up just so that there's not even any opening at all there. I'm going to leave my finger in it and cinch this up. Tie a couple knots in it. And we have the start of a head. Keeping my options open about how I'm going to do the nose because I want to get my head sewn on. I did a prototype, but I haven't done a cat. Haven't done this one. So we're going to put its little head on, threading up the needle. I'm going to start it at the back. And like always, consider maybe just having the head just at a tiny little bit of an angle so it's not looking straight on. It's your choice, of course. But I think I'm going to have mine looking just, and I never do it a lot, just ever so slightly to the left or the right. I'm going to flip it around and start sewing from the back around to the front, just coming into the shoulder tube here. And then I'm going to come back off of the row that's going around the cast on or cast off row. I'm going to come back and catch my V-stitches. For me, they're going to be headed up towards the ears. And the reason I want to pay attention to that is if you don't skip any of these rows, you're going to get a non-puckered look. So I'm going to work my way around, and when I get all the way around, I'll come back and we'll start fine-tuning and putting on some clothes. I'm around to where I started, so it really is important not to use the yarn that's looping over your cast on row. I did a couple just to see what it would look like, and it gave me a really long looking stitch coming up on its neck. So I took them out and went back so that I was catching at least one off of that cast on row. And it's just such a much nicer look. And you don't want the neck to get really fat, so you want to keep it centered over this part of your fitting so that the shoulders are still remaining out. So don't just hold it together and make it a narrow neck. So I'm going to take my needle off and tie this off. Snug it up really good. And let's do something special with our cat ears. If you have it, if you don't, maybe you'll get some. Maybe you'll go to some place like Hobby Lobby and pick up some fur yarn. So I just want to give it a try because it just makes it so much cuter. I'll be right back with a little fur yarn. I have my glue gun heating up, and I just wanted to do something special to the ears. So I have my, from Hobby Lobby, my Yarn Bee Fur the Moment. It's just so soft, and I wanted to just go around the tips of the ears to bring them out. I think I like the gray. I pulled out the white. And if that's all I had, I'd love the white. But I think I like the way the gray looks a little better. So what I do is I actually hold it down past where I wanted to start. I put my glue on my ear, and then I just wrap the fur into the glue, and I keep that glue tiny, just a little strip going around it. And then I just lay it down on it and try to keep that little point going there so that you're not making it look more like a teddy bear ear. So with my glue gun heating up and my fur yarn in position, I'm going to run a really thin bead of glue right along the top here. Do one portion at a time because we know it dries so fast. And I'm going to hold this in position right up to the tip, right on the edge of that ear, and let that dry. And when that's dry, I'm going to bring my bead down right to where we started sewing. Keep that little point on the ear tip. Keep in mind that you want that to show. I'll hold it down and then trim, do the other ear. And then our cat will have little furry ears just to dress it up a little bit. And when I get my fur on, I'll be right back. Pretty little fur around the ear. And when I cut it off, I just give it a little angle this way, a little angle this way, so it's not just straight out. And I think it just adds a little something. So I'm going to do the other ear the same way. I kept the little point by coming up, and then when I came back down, I just laid it down so that it would just keep that cute little shape. So I'm going to do ear number 2. It's optional. If you like it, do it. If you don't, skip it. But I like it. And I'll be right back with ear number 2 on. I played a little more off camera and took my smallest pom-pom maker, took off half of it because I'm making half pom-poms that can rest snug up on their face. And I wrapped this little tiny green one 45 times, cut it, and by taking off the other wings, you can see this pin down here. And when you're snugging, it up. You can get it really, really tight. We'll tie it once on the top, once on the bottom. And when I put these onto its face, I think it's cute. And the reason I made this one is because this one on that larger one took an awful lot of trimming to get it the right shape. It's cute, so much trimming. So I'm going to go with the two little tiny ones and just put them right there like this. I think it's so cute. So I'm going to thread up my needle and tie them on. And before I knot them, I'm going to make sure that I have the position in a good place. So this is the nose tube coming down. I'm going to come down two underneath it and go under these two rows right here that are meeting right at the point of my nose to see how that'll look. Do the same thing with this one. Going under the two rows. I need my pom-poms to meet in the middle. Snug these up. Okay, I'm gonna try tying that off, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, so I sewed under two bars coming this way. Now I'm going to grab this other piece of yarn and go the opposite direction. So when I tie them, so I'm coming back to the center and going out where the other one went in. Then I'll tie these two together. Nice and snug. Cute little snout. I'm going to go ahead and finish tying it off, and then I can do some trimming on it later. And these two ends will just become part of the pom-pom. And you still can use the little pom-pom balls, the little ball nose. Those options are still on the table for you. Now I don't want it to stick out so far, so I'll be trimming this direction. And controlling how far it sticks out. By doing the half pom-pom, it helps snug it up to the head also. So I don't want to do too much until I get it dressed. Okay, so we have a cute little cat face going. Still needs trimming on the pom-poms. Have fur. Have a cute little body that needs a tail. So the next one is going to be our tail. I'm excited to try it. So it's going to require the 22 pin Addi. I'll bring the Addi up onto the table and show you how we're going to encase that tail. So I'll be back in a moment. So look who's standing all by herself. So I have a second twisty curler that I'm going to use on the Addi. Okay, so my chair on the end of my yarn. This is the same fur yarn that I used on the little kitten's ears. So I'm going to go just under the first black pin, behind the second black pin, under the third black pin. Whoops. And I have a heavy handle on my Addi because mine broke. I was in the middle of a project, so I just got my drill out, drilled a new hole, used a cabinet screw, and screwed into this that I had. It's heavy, so it wants to pull my handle back around the wrong way. That's what just happened. So I'm going to go all the way around and make sure this yarn stays around this first pin. And I'm going to do a loop here and make sure that it goes under these first 3 pins. Not sure how this is going to work. I might be starting this video over and just using gray yarn because it wants to raise up on these first 2, the first and third pin. And because it's fur, I'm wondering if it's going to be easy to see that. Okay, so now I want to take this, and this will be awkward, but I'm going to hold it into place here, bring my yarn around behind it, and start trapping this tail in between this yarn. So I have to make sure that while I hold it, and now it's in the way, that it goes, the yarn is under this pin, under the third pin, and that it goes under all 3 of them, that it catches. This yarn really works good in the Addi, so I'm very hopeful this is going to work. So I'm going to go all the way around again, just holding this in place. And once I get a few more rows, it'll be easier because it'll be holding its own self. Okay, so I'm under the first pin, second pin, making sure that yarn on that third pin falls down so that it can trap the yarn, and it did. Yay. Okay, coming around, my first pin's up, second pin's up, holding the twisty curler in place, making sure I go under all 3 pins again. Caught it, caught it, caught it, coming around. And even though this is sliding down, I'm going to pull it back up in a minute. Right now, it's holding its own. Okay, we're just going to keep going around this way, making sure that we don't drop a stitch. And around. So our little kitten can have an adorable fur tail. And this, for the moment, yarn is doing great. It's actually sliding down on the tube. I mean, on the pin. And that's unusual for that to happen. Usually you have to push it down, push it down, push it down, push it down. But this is really behaving. And making sure that that's down. One around. I'm on row 7 now. I don't know how many it's going to take, but I wanted to put the counter on so that I could tell you how many it took me. And it's going to elongate when we pull it off of here. We're making an eye cord wrapped around it. It's going to get longer as we pull it down. And the reason I wanted to use the fur is because it's so forgiving and so fluffy that it's not going to let the blue or whatever color your curler is show through. It's totally encasing it. And if I pull on this cord down here on the tail, I can see it start snugging down and making a cute little tail. Might be a good idea to pull it up a little bit right now so I can keep track of it. This part right here is going to be up under the body, but I'm going pretty much up to the top because this is going to be pushed up into that tight fitting. Okay, well, it's going to get boring for you to watch this. So when I get about up to here, I'll tell you how many rows it is, and we'll cast off and see if we have a tail that we can use. I'm so excited. I just know it's going to work. Be right back. Working so great. I'm not dropping any stitches. The stitches are sliding down on the pins. Amazing yarn. I love it. So I actually pulled it down almost to the bottom of my curler. I have maybe a 1/4 inch sticking out, and I can kind of like tap it down in, keeping the fur. I don't want to push it so far down that I expose any of the blue twisty curler. So that's how I'm keeping track of where I am. I have the cutest little tail hanging down there. When I get about right to here, we're going to cast off. I'll come back with you and I'll tell you my row count. I'm at 20 right now. It's going really fast. I pulled the tail out of the little kitten, and then where it was popping out of our pipe fitting at the back, I held my finger on it and measured down on this one so I would know how far up I wanted to come. Put a little mark on it so I can keep coming around. I think I might have about 3 more rows that I'm going to do, and then we'll cast off and see what happens. I'm at 36, and I'm going to thread my needle. If I was doing something substantial with this fur yarn, because it's difficult to pull it through the loops and cinching up the top of the beanie and whatnot, I always start with 1 row of matching yarn and then start my fur. But I'm not going to do it this time because we're dealing with 3 pins. So I don't see it being a problem. So I'm going to, if I could even see it, I'm going to pick this, make sure all 3 of these fall down. I'm going to pick this first one up, making sure I have my needle on it because it's hard to see. The second one, and this third one. And I now have all 3 stitches. And here comes our tail. I'm going to take the Addi down so that I can reposition and we can work with our tail. I'll be right back. This is the beginning. So I'm going to just pull this over the end of that blue tube right there. Snug it up like we would a beanie. Have my needle threaded, and it wants to fall off the end of the point because this is blunt and this is not. So I'm going to bring it up. Come under a couple of these stitches. You just have to feel for them. That's going to encase the end of the tail. Might come up another one, and then I'm going to have to tie this off to get a knot in it. This fur yarn is so forgiving because once I tie this knot, it'll just become part of this furry tail. Whoops. There it is. Thread it back up. Come back down this way to bury the thread. I'm just going to let it stick right out the end. I can find the end. There. Just become part of my cat's cute little cat tail. Put that off. There we go. Cat tail. And most of the fur came to the outside, which is nice. It looks nice and furry. So we're at the top here, and got to have it standing. Okay, cute little fur tail coming out. So I'm going to secure the top of this, push this up where it needs to go. I'm going to have to get a little bead of glue in the 2 little open areas right there. So I'm going to do my glue gun, get it hot. Then I'll just drop a bead of glue in on each side of this blue pool noodle. It's not a pool noodle, twisty curler. And secure that. I'm going to get my glue gun and be right back. When my glue gun's heating up, I decided to take the 2 pieces of yarn that were hanging down on the back of my cat's head while I sewed it on. I just am bringing it to the front just to narrow that down a little bit. Snug it up, bringing it around to the back. Just an afterthought, snugging it up. I'm going to tie it off, give it a couple knots. So she has a narrow neck. Bury the threads. Still waiting on that glue gun to heat up. I like it. She has a prettier neck now. We're about ready to dress our ballerina. Glue gun's hot. With the tail like this, standing really nicely. So I like the position. It's pretty much all the way up. You've got to get your three-legged stool going. So don't push it up so far that you can't get that accomplished. I'm going to actually pull it out just a tiny little bit. Cute little tail. Standing up. Okay, I'm going to flip it over and just drop a little bit of glue in here. Going around the outside edge, just to make sure that tail doesn't get pulled out. I mean, I don't know why somebody that loved their little kitten ballerina would pull it out, but I know that my daughter's Barbie dolls, when she had two older brothers, ended up missing body parts. Bad things happened to them. I don't know why. Okay, I'm going to just add just a little bit more. Not globbing it up. We can let that dry now. And I'm going to unplug that glue gun. I don't think we'll need it for a minute. And talk about how we're going to put on the little bodysuit and make the tutu. So I have the Toile that I got at Walmart. It just came on a roll. I couldn't see what it was going to be. Not expensive. Just found it there. Our Walmart isn't really that big. It's really, really fine. Other Toile that I've used has had a little more texture to it, a little bit bigger holes. But I think because this is so small, it's going to be perfect to just fold it in half. Then I'll gather it all up, maybe make 2 layers, and it's going to be a really cute tutu. So I'm going to just set this here for now. And then some options. We're doing this because the glue is drying. When we put this on, we have to have a way to make it look like it's a little bodysuit. So I have this yarn that will not go through my Addi or my Sentro. It's just way too thick. It came in two different, which guess diameters. At Walmart, and I bought some of each, but this was a little bit smaller. I don't have the wrapper anymore to say what it is, but it's very, very veloury and soft, and it makes a nice little strap to come over the shoulders. You could use any of your ribbons. I don't have a ribbon that I think will look good with the gray. I have a white ribbon, but I think instead of using a white ribbon, that I would like to use this really veloury yarn so that it feels better to a child's hand. Let's see if that's still not dry. One other option I pulled out was my Glam. This is a trim. It's called Simplicity. I know I got this at Dollar General in the craft section, and I just usually cut it out so that it's 2 jewels wide. And that also, I'll fold it in half just to give you an idea of what it would look like if you trimmed it down. Would look really cute coming over the shoulders, glittery. It looks pretty good. I might have to reconsider. And when the little bodysuit's up here, you would have jewels holding it up, or the little fur yarn. And I think I'm going to go with the fur yarn because then I can bring it around the back and tie it. So is our tail dry? Pretty much. Still have the tail to deal with. So I'm going to thread this up. just push this up a little bit till I don't want to separate my fur yarn so that I'm seeing the twisty curler coming through. But I'm just cinching it up a little bit. And I think to secure it, I want to make sure that it's snug. So I'm going to come into the top part of the legging on this side, come into the top part of the eye cord we just made, come back over onto this side, get under its leg. And that seems to be pretty secure. So I'm going to just repeat that. Go back under the furry tail, back into this leg, come back under, tie a knot, and bury it down in the tail. The tail can use all the fur it can get. Already had a knot in it, so now I'm just bringing it back down through the eye cord. And I'll just trim it off and it'll become part of the fur. All right, still standing. I think that's pretty amazing. So here we go. Here's the bottom. I have my draw cords coming out on the side. And it's not too terribly loopy, but we're going to sew it together, whip stitch it together. If you watched any other videos that I've put out, I always whip stitch them together so they don't slide apart when we're securing them. Just going under maybe 4 times. Doesn't even matter if you get under every stitch. It's just so that the ends of this tube don't slip apart and expose something underneath that we don't want to see, like stuffing or, whatever you're working with. Okay, that'll do it. Just going to give it a little knot here. I'm going to do both of them. I am going to go with this nice silky velour yarn. So I'm going to just cut off a piece. And when I did the Sassy Rabbit, what I did was find the center and then when I pulled it up over the shoulders, it cinched it up. Do that at the end. So that's the option I'm going to go with. I'm going to clean this table up just a little bit, whip stitch this side closed, and then we're going to dress our little kitty cat. Just for a little visual, here's how much longer the tail is. That's the end of it right there. Just a little longer than the feet so it can go back and act like a little tripod. So I have these whip stitched across the bottom, and I might use this end on both sides because I do want to stitch underneath this to the legs so it can't flop up and expose that there's PVC right here. So this is going to be cinched up really snug at the top and knotted so it stays together. Couple little knots. I'm going to bury the thread and do the other side the same way. Let's get it on. We'll let a little bit of her chest show so that the white is going to be down at the waist right here. Put the back part on. So what we have to do is sew the bottom of the gray together. So we have our tails right here. It'll be a little mattress stitch going up. And we can do that while it's off the body. So let's just match up both sides, tie a little knot right here, mattress stitch up, and even come, let's see, if it's down here, at least, I say at least 3 V stitches up so that we're snugging it up under the armpit. So line your bottom up, go in under your first row here, under the first row. Have my V stitches. Yours can go any way that your tube was falling, but mine are going to go towards the white. So I'm going to find my first one here and just mattress stitch up. Under 2 bars, mattress stitching. And I'm going to get up 1, 2, 3, do the other side 3. Don't tie a knot till we try it on her and see if we like it. I'll be back when I have both sides ready to go and we can put her little outfit on. This is the first side. And when I got to the white, I went under single bars. So it would be nice and snug. Single, single, single. Till I had the 3 bars. I'm going to leave this open till I see if I like where it is. But I pulled that mattress stitch snug and then pulled it back out this way so it's not drawing up. I'm going to do the same thing on this side and do 3 single bars up onto my white and see what happens. All right, I just slid her, I don't know what to call it, little bodysuit on. And it seems pretty good with coming up 3 stitches under the arms because we don't want this to go all the way up under the neck. So I like that. I'm going to put my needle back on it and tie it off. And then do a cord right around where the color change is to snug that waist up. And that gives us a little bodice. How cute. I love it. I'll be right back when we're snugging that bodice up. And off camera, I'll just knot, bury these gray ends, go over, under, over, under. I want to knot it off at the back. So I'll start at the back, knot it off, bury those threads, and we'll wrap this up. All the ends are buried. I know I said I'd come back after I had this done, but I just, right at the color change, I'm just going to go over and under every other one. It's like putting a little belt on it. I have to unthread my needle again. And that does get annoying. I don't know why I keep doing that. And this is where we'll snug it up and tie a knot. How cute. Okay, let's see if I can get this threaded. This is pretty thick. Not a problem. Okay, so it can be a single one coming up from the center that goes around the neck, or individual straps that come up, one on each side. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do one that just comes up through the middle. So I want to go under about 3 of these rows. So it's catching the top of the bodice. That's 3 rows coming up. And bring it around. Oh my gosh, that's so cute. It is just cute. You have to admit that's cute. Bring it around to the back. Doing the same thing back here under at least 3 of these rows. 1, 2, 3. Go back the opposite direction. I think it's pretty cute. So I'm going to tie this back here in a bow. Or not. I'm not sure yet. It's going to definitely need a knot. And maybe just let those hang down. That might be cute. Okay. Still standing. And let's start the tutu. I'll be right back. I made 2 pom-poms on my little green pom-pom maker, wrapping each side 50 times. I used a white yarn that has a little sparkle in it. Hard to see, but it's kind of there. Snugged it really, really tight, tied it tight, one's on the top, one's on the bottom, so it'd be really secure. Then just trimming it to be elongated. And I made 2 of them. This one's not trimmed yet. You can see it needs a little work. Then some little ribbon, not expensive, Walmart. And we're going to lace that up its leg after we put a little slipper on it to make it look ballerina-y. It's the finishing touches that make them so adorable. So don't ever think it's not going to be cute enough until you actually are finished. So 2 more pom-poms, a little white ribbon, and we need to make a tutu. And before we put those feet on, we're going to just pull down on this tube and give it a foot. If I push really, really hard and snug, it's not even quite 2 fingers. Going to sew across it so it has a bending point for a foot that can rest down on the table. We'll just sew across. The pom-pom's going to cover that up. It's going to be right there to make the illusion of a little ballerina slipper, and then we'll lace it up. So I have my toile that came on this roll from Walmart. I'm guessing at the price, don't hold me to it, $3.70 or $3.80 maybe. And I cut it about 6 feet long just by holding it in my hand, holding my arm out, bringing it up to my nose, then taking it from my nose and bringing it out to my arm again and adding about a foot. So that should be about 7 feet. I'm folding it in half, taking a needle that will go through. It's bigger than a regular sewing needle. It's probably for embroidery. And this is embroidery thread, tied a knot in the end. I'm doubling it over. I want it to be really sturdy. So I'm not just using regular sewing thread, but a good upholstery thread would also work. So just folding it in half, I have too much on my table, and laying it down on the rest of my table, it'll kind of stick to itself and stay folded in half. And I'm going to, on the folded over side, staying pretty close to the top, take my needle and just go in and out about every eighth of an inch, every quarter of an inch, just all the way to the end. And when I get all the way to the end, I'll join you back and we'll have a tutu ready to go on. So I'll be a couple minutes sewing. The tutu is made, and I'm going to do one paw pad, tying my yarn on, leaving a long enough end that I can bury it, just so it's nice and secure. Then smushing it in my finger so that the bottom of that twisty curler is going to rest on my tabletop. And I'm going to just go in and out, up and down, till I get a paw pad. When I get to the other side, I'm going to reverse and go back to where I started and tie off to that original thread. Pom-Pom's going to cover this up. Okay, I'm going to flip the little creature around and come back through just to secure it, make it a little bit more secure. Down. Back to where I started. Makes a cute little foot, even without a pom-pom on it. It looks cute. I tie it off. You do the other side. And I'll do my other side off camera. I'm going to tie it in a knot to my original thread and bury it. And it's whipping up all on its own. Then after I trim this pom-pom up, this one is pretty much ready to go. So that it's elongated, I'm going to put it right down on top of that part that flips up. Before I do that, I'm going to put my cute little narrow white lace up. I'll attach it to the top and then just rest this pom-pom down on it and tie it on. I might even use a little glue. Not sure yet. So you do the other one, and we'll do the hands the same way. Pull them down, sew across the end so that there's a little floppy little paw on the end. All four. Be back in a minute. The tutu's ready to go on. Just wanted to sew these up first. My feet are made, so I'm picking up this pom-pom that made on the little small pom-pom maker, just holding on to the strings on the bottom and just narrowing it down on the sides so it's elongated. Doing most of the trimming on the side because I want it to look like a ballerina slipper, the illusion of a ballerina slipper. I think that'll do it. This one just needs to be narrowed down a little bit on the sides. It's the wrong one. This one. Taking most of it off the sides. Keep holding on to the yarn you cinched it with so you'll know that that's the down. That goes down. This one's still a little bit fatter. Just a little fine tuning until they look the same. This one's still a little fatter. Just a little bit more off this side right here. And then I'm going to take my pom-pom, thread it up, and not long ways, not crossways, but long ways. I'm going to tie it right onto the top of this foot so it looks like a little shoe on there. like this, so that when we wrap our adorable little piece of ribbon up, that pom-pom will sit right on top of that. I think I can, with this being so thin, thread my needle with it, start at the back. I'm going to go under 2 bars. Thinking it might be a good idea to tie that at least once to secure it. And then I'm going to start, I'll have to cut this end off so I can weave it and leave plenty for a bow. Okay, just a couple times up. I don't want to go too far. Okay, I'm going to do 2 wraps and then tie. I'll do a knotted bow so it can't come out. And the little pom-pom on there starts to look like a little ballerina slipper. So you do the other one. I'll do my other one. They look cute even without just the little bows coming up look cute. And I think by tying it right on the heel, that's going to keep it in place. So I'll do the other one. I have the tutu ready to go on. I am going to take a little break and go into Margaret's house and look for a ribbon. Finish up the other foot. I still haven't come across the paws on the arms. When I get all of that done, I'll come back with you and we'll put the tutu on. Pom-pom feet. So on the part of the pom-pom, after I got it oval, that's going to go up against the leg, I just cut straight across and it'll just rest right up against the leg. And to sew it on so it's nice and snug, get your needle. We need to really cinch down on it so it's not just flopping around on the top of the foot. We're going to go straight down to the bottom of the foot with this yarn, thread up and do the same thing on the next one. And here's the flat edge going towards the leg. And we can tie it to the bottom. And not only that, just to make sure it's really secure, I brought it up onto the top of this pom-pom, tied it again, snipped off the edges, and let them just become part. That really sucks it up and makes the little ends that I'm going to cut off just become part of the pom-pom. Snip them short. If you're like me, you always want to come back and just do a little more snipping. So there's our 2 little adorable pom-pom tutu feet. Got the little bows double tied now, so they won't come out. They're secure. Snip the edges off. I did the sewed across the palm, wrist, and then I did one more thing that's optional. You can do it or not do it, but it's not real noticeable. But giving it just a little indentation for each of its little finger nubs. And because it's a dark yarn, it's not that easy to see, but just come straight in, come straight down on a row, so that it doesn't slip off. And when you get it nice and snug and a knot in there, it'll stay put. And tie that knot and cinch up a little indentation where a paw would be. Double tie it, do another one. Just a cute little finishing touch, in my opinion. Trying not to split yarns. It's a little hard to get through there sometimes. I'm using a brown yarn, a gray yarn that's really silky, not like the Red Heart Super Saver, because I wanted it to just have a different look. I like that Super Saver if it's a really sturdy kind of animal, but this one just seemed like it needed to be delicate, and this gray yarn has a little bit of a sheen to it even. So now we have just the little divots of a paw pad. I'll bury those threads like I did on this one, and you can get it just right. You can see that it's just cute. You could even do a little black claw on the end of it. I have my glue gun heating up. I didn't know I was going to do this, but I'm just a fan now. To just give it that false eyelash. So the way I'm going to do that is keep my little piece of yarn longer than I need it to be. I'm going to run a really thin bead of glue at the top of the eye on the yarn. Then just lay this quickly into the glue. And then I'll trim it. When it dries, oh gosh, it's just so cute. My daughter just goes crazy for her eyelashes. And I have to agree, it's just so adorable. So I'll do the other, I'm gonna not even try to get this the right length yet. Just while the glue gun's hot, I'm gonna go ahead and do this other eye. Just going from half, divide that in half and just do the upper half. Keep your glue really thin coming out. Don't glump it. And with the yarn, if it's longer than the eye, then you can just drape it into that glue. Gently press down on it, and we'll come back. Keep it off the eye. You're gluing it to the yarn. We'll come then cut that off. Bury these threads. We have a tutu to put on. This is the entire 6 to 7 feet. It doesn't make very much, does it? This is the open end. We cinched it up on the folded over end. So we can tie this on, bring it to the back. We'll adjust our gathers after we get it tied on. I like using this embroidery floss because it's so sturdy. So I'm going to cinch it up really snug so it really stays on that waist. No bow, it's going to be a knot. Then adjust the tutu gathers so they're spaced coming around. We don't even need to do anything with the bottom of this skirt like I thought we would, because you just can't even, with all this cinching at the waist, the legs go all the way up. There's no pipe or anything exposed up there. So now if you want to do some fine tuning, I went over to Margaret's house and I found these jewels on a roll. It's called Gem Mesh. It's 3 yards on here. It was donated, but I cut it out single in purple because it kind of goes with gray, in my opinion, pink or purple, and could put it on the waist right there. to give it a little sparkle. I also found this, which was silver. It is just simplicity trim, silver, and that could go at the waist. Also. But I like glam, something glamorous to go with those false eyelashes. So making sure that I have my tutu adjusted. I'm going to hold it down and put this row of gemstones around and bring it to the back. And I'm going to glue it. And it's just going to make a cute little something extra at the waist. Trim up these eyebrows. Look at that face. Isn't that a face that any child would love? So being very careful with these really sharp scissors, I'm going to just snip that mesh that the fur is attached to, both corners. That's why you want it to be longer than you need it, and then you can just come trim it off. It's so much easier to work with a longer piece of yarn that you're just draping over your glue than having it exactly the right length and you can't get it started right and then it just messes up. So there's our adorable little face with our amazing eyebrows, eyelashes. Cute. Some jewels. I'm going to bury these threads. Take a last look at her. I have one more little embellishment for her head. Because she's a ballerina. I'll be right back. I'm finishing up a few little things on our adorable little kitten. So this is what we tied the tutu on with. And I just tied it in a really good knot. And now I'm just burying the threads just like it was a piece of yarn. And I have the other one to do that had a knot in it. So I'm going to cut that knot out. I want to show you a paw option. I did one paw off camera. Let's see if I'd like it. Still going to go with the bling at the waist. Have a hot glue gun. I'm only going to overlap it two jewels, two of these little jewels. So I'll just put a little bit of glue on top of each one. And then wrap this over it. It's just decorative. It's not holding anything together. I have such a mess of yarn fuzz and stuff up here. Before I show you the finished product, I'm cleaning up this table. Alrighty. She has jewels at her waistline. I like it. Never done till we're done. She might have to have a couple right up here. I'm pretty sure she does, so we might as well just go ahead and do it. I think she's almost ready for the nutcracker. So what do you think about the little paw I gave her little claws just coming out to the edge. Then I turned her paw over and gave her 3 little paw pads because that's all will fit. So don't go be turning your cat's paw over and counting. And then there would be one right here that I didn't think about. Because I don't have a cat to turn its paw over. So I think for it to be authentic, we're going to have to put that one right there. So what I did is, this is just a really fat black yarn that I have. Pretty, you can tell it's hefty compared to, well, this is kind of a fat yarn too, but it's one of my thickest black yarns. So I definitely am going to have to put this extra little pad right here to make it more authentic and adorable. But this is 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I jumped over to this pad, 1, 2, 3, 4. Jumped over to here, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then buried my threads. And I came out over the bald part, not where it's cinched up, because that's not where the claw would come out. Came out onto each of the 3 little rounded ends, gave her 3 little paws. So I'm going to do that on the other side. Feet look cute. She looks cute. I'm going to give her claws, do the little paw pads. I put a little flower up here just to glam her up even more. If you didn't have the little nose, a little black pom-pom would have been just as cute right there. I guarantee it. And if you didn't have the little slanted cat eyes, little button eyes, whatever you have, but boy, she's got some pretty eyes that match her blue flower. Okay, I'm going to clean up, and then she's ready for her debut when she gets the rest of her claws on. So I'm going to come up from the bottom because I'm going to be doing little paw pads under there and leave myself some yarn, a tail, tie off to in the end, and just bring that little claw just right out to the tip. And when this is cinched up the way it is, and we've made the little paw pads by tying it, it's not easy to get the needle in and out. So try not to split your threads and just work on it. And then we can bring this right out to the tip of that paw pad. First little claw. So easy. Then just come back in, following it down where we cinched it, going across this way. Go under, trying not to split any threads. Come up for the last one. You'll struggle a little bit getting it over there. And try not to split threads. Never want to do that. Okay. See how fast it goes? Here's our second little claw. And the last little claw coming out. Now I'm just going to pop up on the other side. Take a look. I can snug on this one or this one if I need to snug up those little claws. And then I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, possibly 4, go under my yarn to this little nub, 1, 2, 3, 4, come up to the top of this one, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I end up down here at my yarn. I'm going to tie it off and bury my threads. The hardest part of this is just not splitting any threads, and it's been snugged up so many ways that don't get frustrated. You'll get it to go through. So that's 1. 2. It's the beginning of our little paw nubs down there. 3. That's the little baby one. So 3 with this really fat yarn appears to be enough 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to jump over to this one. Up here. Okay. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, possibly 4. Come up to the top of this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tie off. Okay, friends. Did you get your paw pads on? Because look how cute that is. And just to show you that she's not just a ballerina, she can pose. And here she is, just looking cute as a button. And Miss Leah turned out so cute that I went back to my prototype with the little golden shirt and I gave him a tail too because he was totally adorable. He could sit, kneel, but he couldn't stand. But with their tails, they truly are standing up the tubes. So I hope you'll give a like. I really hope you'll subscribe to the channel because this is going to be a new little series of standing animals that I think can go somewhere really special. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll make a little creature for someone special in your life. God bless you.